Can't move the chairs around.
Take care of our light work, Dennis.
Why, it's just nice to actually have people in the meeting.
It was hot.
All right, we're gonna call the meeting to order. This is Monday, August 12th, 2024, and this is the Huron City Commission meeting. Roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Here.
Weinreich.
Here.
Bragg.
Here.
Harvey.
Here.
Mayor Robish.
Here, we'll vote on other stuff later, but would you all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll go on to 2.1, consider approval of the agenda. Anybody have anything to add? Okay, I would entertain a motion for the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinreich.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Mayor Robish.
Aye. Public forum. Public forum is limited to a maximum of 3 minutes per person. Please state your name and address for the record. Is there anyone in the audience that has anything for public forum? Just wait. Commissioners, any guy? Mr. Liner?
Yep, just a final reminder that the citywide cleanup is this week for the final week. Tomorrow from 12 to 4 at the State Fairgrounds. It will be on the Midway. And then ending will be on Wednesday from 4 to 8 p.m. And also want to remind everybody that tomorrow is Day of Caring.
Thank you, Commissioner Weinreich. I do have a couple of public forums. Yesterday, I want to say a public thank you to all the people that came out and watched the Battle of the Badges. The fire department came up with a squeaky win. It was it was a walk-off. There you go, it was a walk-off. So, so the fire department took the trophy second year in a row. Oh boy, you got to get some recruits here.
We're gonna start playing soccer soon.
Okay, all right. Speaking of recruits, we have in the crowd tonight our baseball team, or junior legion, maybe 13 and under. I'm not sure what the official name is, but these guys went through the year, had a tough year, had some losses, had some wins, but I think they ended the year in a 9-game winning streak or 8-game winning streak. They are the state champs for 13 and under. So I'd like them to have them come up, and we're going to present them with a
13 and under.
13 and under.
13, 14.
And what's the name of the team?
The Tigers.
American Legion.
We call ourselves the Tigers.
You guys can come up front.
Come on up, Betty.
Do you want a picture?
Johnny, Peyton.
Bring your trophy, we'll get a picture with you. It's amazing.
So the two guys on the outside were Johnny Hernandez and Peyton Grace. They were their coach this year. They learned everything from me because I used to be their coach. So here we go. Remember that,
Ready?
guys? All right.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, now, of course, this one's for the paper, so you know. All right.
All right, thank you. Got something for each one of you here. All right. There you go. You're welcome. Good job, guys.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Well done, fellas.
Guys.
Yeah, I did. All right. Thank you for that, and you made Huron proud. Our kids make us proud every day, but you did a great deal that weekend. Good job. We're gonna move on to consent agenda. Matters appearing on the consent agenda are expected to be non-controversial and will be acted upon by the commission at one time without discussion unless a member of the commission requests an opportunity to address any given item. Items removed from the consent agenda will be discussed at the beginning of the formal items. Our consent agenda consists of 4.1 minutes of August 5, 2024, 4.2 fuel quotes for city departments, 4.3 personnel item, consider recommendation for the part-time employment of John Tapkin as volunteer fire effective August 13, 2024, 4.4 payment of the bills.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinreich.
Aye.
Craig.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Mary Robish.
Aye.
Thank you,
All
see ya.
right. Moving on to number 5, bid quote items. Consider pay request number 2 from Midland Contracting Incorporated for the 4th Street reconstruction in the amount of $273,279.71. Assistant Engineer Dennis Bennett, please.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. This is just progress payment for this. Most of this is for the water main that had to be relocated, and recommend approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions? Roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinreich.
Aye.
Craig.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Mary Robish.
Aye. 5.2, consider pay request number 3 from BX Civil and Construction for the Dakota Avenue improvement in the amount of $229,902.
you.
Assistant, go ahead.
Thank you. This is a progress payment for the Dakota Avenue project. Most of this work was for the water main that was installed from March 4th.
Motion to
Recommend
approve.
approval.
Second.
Second, any questions?
Do you have a general timeline on either this one or the last one? Just, I know it's hard to be specific, but any guesses?
They say they will be done with the market 5th this year. That's in the contract. They have to be November 15th, they have to have it hard surfaced. There is talk of doing the water main from 5th to 7th this year. And it will be hard surface for the winter if they do that, but it is not complete. That is just temporary. But I got no solid dates for you.
Yeah.
How about on 4th Street?
They will have that ready for pavement this fall, but it will wait until next spring to be paved.
So
Because
when
we have
will it
settlement and
be,
stuff.
will people be able to drive on it temporarily at some point here? When do they say they'll be done with?
We'll call phase 1 they're working on now. They wanna have that done in a couple weeks, then they'll flop and go from the east. So we'll have access from either the east or the west at all times.
Thank you.
Yep.
I know a lot of people have asked about
Yeah,
when they can
yes,
drive
they
up
have.
the hill there.
Yes. All right, thank you for the update. Roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinreich.
Aye.
Craig.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Mayor Robish.
Aye. Petitions and communications. Tonight we have Gail Clute with us for an update from People's Transit. Floor is yours.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to come and highlight and educate you guys on some things going on with People's Transit. I also want to let you know that our board chair, Andrea Del Grasso, is here tonight as well with me. Just kind of want to give you some numbers to start with as far as the number of rides we give every year. And we gave out 66,818 rides for fiscal year '23. We're well on track to meet that for FY '24 as well. Our fiscal year starts October and ends in September. Now, the cost of a ride figured out is actually $11.40. So if somebody wanted to pay for a complete ride, all of the expenses that go along with it, operating, the admin, insurance, all of that, $11.40. However, because of the federal funding that we get and because of the local match that we receive, we're able to keep those fees down for people. General public is $3.50, seniors and kiddos are $2.50 for one way. So the help that we get from local support as well as the federal support, we're able to keep that down from $11.40. I would say that probably 30 to 35% of our rides are youth rides. And the important thing about those youth rides is, yes, we're getting kids to and from preschools and schools, but at the same time, we're taking a lot of kiddos from daycares to school and preschools. What that says is their parents are working. Their parents are being productive citizens, they're tax-paying citizens. And so we're able to take their kiddos to school and preschool so they can work. It looks like about 25% or so are the elderly. What's important about that number is that folks who live alone are able to stay in their home. They're not maybe able to drive anymore or choose not to drive, but we're able to take them grocery shopping, to their medical appointments, those types of things. So they're able to stay in their home. They're able to still, pay utilities, pay taxes, all that kind of stuff. It's just that they need the transportation to get around. Same thing with folks with disabilities. We provide so much independence to folks who are developmentally disabled or even disabled, physically. And that allows them to have more of a sense of independence because they can ride us without support staff as well. So, just kind of wanted to give you an idea of that breakdown and the importance of transit in Huron. Now, I did share with you guys this sheet right here. And what that is the budget that we put together that I submitted to the state for their approval. This is the first time in transit history that we've had a budget over $1 million. We've always been low, so when I put all the numbers together and looked at everything and I thought, wow, we're growing, plus the cost of everything is going up as well. So our total budget this year is 1.096. And so, that does include a 3% raise this year for staff. It's kind of keeping up with inflation, but not really. But, we needed to do that as well. So anyway, the numbers that are on here, if you look over on the right-hand side, okay, you have the 1.96 million over at the top right-hand corner. When you come down to the 141,575, that's typically fair money that we get. Now, fair money cannot be used as match money, but we can use that because we're required to take 15% off of our expenses before we even start submitting them to the state. So, of that 1.96 million, we have to, put in 15%, and that's 141,575. And that's just fair money. That's just people buying tokens, okay? And then we come up with our net project cost of $955,000. Now, after that, there are different, on line 5, there's 82.82%, there's a 51.76%. That's the percentage that the federal government pays. We have to come up with that balance. And so, of the $955,000 that we ask, that we're net asking for, we want and we need $582,000 in 5311 funds. 5311 funds is the section of federal funding that comes from the federal government, so we can use as operating and as administration costs. So that's the number we need, hopefully, to get from the federal government. And that stuff, all that federal money goes to the state. They have a formula that they work out depending on our ridership, depending on our revenue miles, depending on non-revenue miles, all this kind of stuff. All these things figure in. And so we want $582,000, hopefully, in 5311 funds this year. Now, when you get down to line 7, We get $19,096, and that is basically, senior money that we get through, the Department of Health. And so that's just a formula that they have, that we get that money. Local funds, this is the amount of money, $266,000, that we need to raise to make our match for federal funding. We can use our Medicaid, we can use our contract money, but specifically, the funds that we get from the city and the county and the United Way, we actually put those in a specific line that says they can only be used for matching funds for operating and admin. We don't use those funds to purchase buses, we don't use those to purchase a new door, anything like that, nothing capital. It's strictly admin and operating. And the reason we do that is because that impacts the fact that we can keep our fees down to $3.50 or $2.50 a ride. So any money that the city gives us goes directly to keeping the cost of our rides down. State funds, $78,000 is what we get from the state, from the DOT, to help our match. And so that again is a formula that the state has. I think we're at about $900,000 is what the state has allocated to 13 different transit agencies. And the formula that they use, out of that, we get $78,000 of that. Annually, we are asking for more all the time because it is harder and harder to raise money. Other funds, just other things that we could try to raise money from. Right now, I want to talk about our new vehicles and things like that, but perhaps advertising, perhaps donations, things like that. That's an area where, we can use those funds for matching funds as well. So total required match is $372,000. However, the $266,410, that's the magic number that we always have to try to find here. So I just wanted to give you an idea of the expenses and what it really, really costs to run all the buses and to keep things and people moving in here and in the surrounding areas. Now, I know that hopefully you've seen new buses running around town. They're those ghost white ones right now. That's something that we're hopefully going to be able to generate some matching funds from as well. When I first started, the plan was an entity wrapped the bus, and then they could keep that advertising on there for the life of the bus. That has changed. We need to figure out different ways to generate revenue. And so we are selling advertising on the buses now. And if a company or an entity wants to wrap a whole bus, it's $6,000 a year. And so we're hopefully gonna generate anywhere between 30-some and 40-some thousand dollars annually just by selling advertising on our buses. So that's just one of the creative things that we need to do to get those local matching dollars. Now, of those 4 buses that you've seen running around town, 3 of them are propane buses. And those buses were paid with 80% federal dollars and 20% local match. We also have 1 gas bus out of those 4 that are in town right now. And that was also an 80-20 grant from the federal government. And so of all of those buses, the total cost of those buses, when we used to buy one for $85,000, anywhere from $150,000 to $170,000 a bus now. So those 4 buses in town cost over $633,000 just for those 4 buses. The federal government paid $530,000 of that, of matching grants that we wrote. And so locally, we had to give out $132,630.60 of our local matching dollars. Now, we have 4 more buses coming, and I was kind of being a little greedy when we had the opportunity to write for a low emission, no emission grant, and I'm glad I did, because what's happening right now is the propane buses are being awarded, the gas buses are not being awarded. And so we have 1 gas bus that was already in the hopper, we're getting 1 more of those, and so it's gonna cost $153,000, of which $30,000 we're gonna have to pay in local matching funds. The 3 propane buses, are gonna cost, well, $169,000 3 times, all right? Of those 3 buses, we're gonna have to come up, fortunately, this is an 85-15 grant, 85 federal, 15 local. So $76,455.45 is going to be our local match for those buses, for those 3, because it's an 85-15 grant. You know, we're gonna have 75 to 80% of our fleet is gonna be propane powered by the end of this year. These 4 buses are supposed to be here by the end of this calendar year. That's encouraging because we were driving vehicles that were anywhere from 2003s to 2010s. And you can about imagine how expensive those were to keep on the road. We haven't had a new bus since 2019. So this is exciting. Another thing with these buses, you're not required to have a CDL with these buses. We kept the seating down because the FTA had adopted rules that were meant to impact over-the-road drivers, but it kind of sucked the transit agencies in. And so the cost and everything to get somebody a CDL and the time was something that, you know, our little transit agency didn't have time for. So anything that you see out there now is what we call a 12-2, 12 passenger and 2 wheelchair, which keeps us under the number to have CDL buses and CDLs on our buses. So we're excited. The growth is amazing. Our ridership is up. We've got amazing staff at transit. We have committed staff. We need to keep them because it's not easy to, you can't just train a driver overnight. It's not that easy. There's much more to it. So just wanted to share with you guys where we are financially. Yes, we have a pool of money that is set aside in reserve, but that was at the request of DOT. They want us to have a 6-month reserve. We've never, ever been able to do that, and now we do. And I do know that by the time we pay for all these buses, you know, our cash is gonna be strapped. And we're gonna have to work hard for more matching funds. But anyway, that's the state of transit. We're not gonna close. Everything is working fine. We have amazing buses and people love them. They have we put a system called Liquid Spring in them, which the ride is people notice it. So if you ever wanna jump on a bus, you're more than welcome to. Have a bus, you're more than welcome to. Have a lift, okay? Do you guys have any questions?
Oh, you said you just got propane. How old or how long have you been running the propane buses?
We got 1 in May and 2 of them in July. I didn't bring those numbers, but I am working on miles per gallon type thing. We pay $1.80 for propane. We're paying, whatever the price is at the pump for gas. We're filling more often, but they're doing better in the mileage department, for sure. Plus, less emissions.
Well, thank you.
And I think, and maybe I missed it in the presentation, Gail, but, it's important for people to understand that you do provide transportation to other communities throughout the week, throughout the month.
We do, yeah, thanks, Ryan. They're called NEMT, it's non-emergency medical transportation. And we take folks to specialty appointments in Sioux Falls. We're going to Sioux Falls at least 3 to 5 times a week. We go to Mitchell, Aberdeen, Watertown, Pierre, Howard, Wessington Springs, DeSmet. all of these different places to get people to their specialty appointments. Many of them are Medicaid, and with those, we are able to bill South Dakota Medicaid for that transportation. The person on Medicaid doesn't have to deal with that piece of it. But we do have rates for out-of-pocket pay as well. But, you know, like I said, we are going to Sioux Falls, and many times we have multiple people going in the same vehicle. It's not unusual to have 2 to 4 different appointments with people in that vehicle. We get to Sioux Falls, drop them all off. As they get done, we pick them up and then head back to town.
One last thing, I guess I should ask this first, but, so, other than, besides the taxi, you can't just call People's Transit and say, I need a ride now,
No,
okay?
No.
Explain that just a little bit.
we're demand response, and so we're required to take those rides the day before.
Day before.
Yes, and, you know, of course, you can schedule them many days or even annually. You know, a lot of people just have standing rides that they just automatically get. So, yeah, we're not like a taxi, we're not, we don't compete with them, we're a
Right.
whole different world.
Great, no, I just wanted you to put that out there.
Yeah,
Yep, good. Thank you.
all right, thanks,
Thank
guys,
you.
appreciate your time.
Thanks, Gail.
All right, moving on to departmental items. Consider approving CenturyLink letter of agency and acknowledge release and request agreements for telephone lines that need to be removed from the state of South Dakota's contracts phone systems and authorize the mayor to sign. I'm gonna call on IT Chad Borgen. Thank you.
You. So the last year and a half, the state of South Dakota has been threatening to decommission their Centric system. And they're telling everyone that it's time to get off it because they are not gonna upgrade it, they're not gonna replace it. So everybody's back to their own phone systems. We have our own, but when we decided to do our phone system 7 years ago, the phone lines that we had left on the POTS or the Centric system got lost. And we haven't paid for telephone for a while. Now we're getting back to, we have to pay for phones again. So the agreement letter is basically, it's a letter from Carrier Access, they drafted it, between us and the state of South Dakota, that's basically stating that the phone lines that we asked for, they're relinquishing to us, and they are our responsibility to do with what we need to keep them running. The letter of agency is the letter from Carrier Access to work on our behalf with CenturyLink to get those lines on a new contract.
So what does that mean to us?
Means to us that of the 20-ish phone lines that were no longer covered by a phone contract, that we have to pick back up. The phone fees go from the $15 they were on the Centrix lines to $26.99 a month on our own government contract. So we will pick up an additional $5,000 a month roughly in phone costs between the different departments. Most of those lines are fax lines, dialers, emergency phones for elevators. There are a few that are the office lines for like the police department, golf maintenance, Broadwood Creek, those lines.
And starting when?
Starting from whenever you sign those contracts.
So we don't wanna sign?
Well, we kinda have to, otherwise,
Okay.
it'll get
that's-
quiet real
Just so
fast.
we all, just so we all know what we're looking at for timeline. Go ahead.
Have we considered looking at, like a cloud-based fax system instead of having all those lines?
We can, I know a couple of the companies that I deal with for our IT solutions, have companies, they go through that we could do a fax service where we pay, I think it's $30 a month, and we could have it go, have all of those lines go into that one, cause it's email to fax, so you set up rules, so depending on who it's faxing, it would go to library, police, wherever. It is an option, we would just have to figure out how many of those we have that we could offset that cost with.
And the other question is, have we looked at, do we need all those phones? Or some not getting used that we can cancel or shift around?
Unfortunately, they're all in use in some capacity. Like the police lines, we're talking their admin lines, so that 8550, 5152. I believe the Crime Stoppers phone number, and a couple others. Those are necessary for them. Golf maintenance, they have a single line. Jesse really doesn't use that right now because apparently they must have had a gopher cut the line a couple years ago, and they never told me that they don't have a phone. That he just takes calls on his cell phone. I mean, in some of those locations, it's possible we could eliminate those lines if the department head or the supervisor is willing to take those calls. It just depends on if we're paying the stipend or not, and they're willing on some of those.
I think we gotta grab them now, obviously, cause we don't wanna lose those
Right.
numbers, but
And that's something that,
I completely agree with you, and I think there's a lot of advantages, I mean, in terms of like being able to transfer calls in your departments. I'm sure there's times that somebody calls, you know, the finance number and it's like, no, you called the wrong office, you need to talk to so-and-so. If we had a big VoIP system, they could basically transfer that internally, you know.
We have
We
the,
have that.
we have that now. The majority of the numbers are on one. We just didn't get around to putting everybody on it, or some didn't want on it. Now we're coming to another issue if we do that, where our phone system is getting to end of life and we can't buy new phones to add.
Yeah,
So
that's
that would
what,
have to be a 2026 purchase
that's
to
what I'm
look at.
saying. I think Drew's right, I think we need to be looking, I mean, those big, massive phone systems like we have now are kinda on the way out, aren't they?
They are. The only issue that we have with adding everybody is we've kinda added some of the police lines, and we're finding that we're having some issues between how their calls are handled with the Viper system and that next gen 911 to try and take them out and bring them into our phone system. So the police might have to be left outside of that, but as far as fire, and those other outside agents, the other outside departments, we can easily add.